Since we have everyone here, I will call the meeting to order. And Amanda, will you do roll call for us, ma'am?
Yes. Mr. Perkins?
Here.
Mr. Stevens?
Here.
Chairman Campbell? Mr. Williams?
Here.
And Ms. Benson? Thank you.
So we move now to the invocation and the pledge, and Mr. Stevens is going to do that for us today. Please stand.
Bow your head. Heavenly Father, I want to thank you for this day. I want to thank you for all the blessings you have bestowed upon us, opportunity to serve our community. Are the reason for this season.
Amen. Thank you, Mr. Stevens. We move now to the adoption of the agenda. I think, Bruce, you wanted a couple of minutes to talk about the new speaker.
Yes, we have a new microphone system, and we're going to provide an opportunity for our IT director, Hamid Rizay, to say a brief comment or two about the new system.
And I will say I've already noticed if you'll keep them off unless you're speaking, we won't get that feedback, I think.
Madam Chair?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, we're going to work out these technical difficulties, the tone, but I just wanted to point out a few of the features, just make sure everybody's comfortable with the new microphones. If you look down at the microphone, the on-off switch is like the little person, so you just press it to turn on and off. So if your green light's on, your microphone is on. If your microphone is on and you want to mute or say something, the three dots to the left, if you hold it, and you'll see that your green light is off. That will allow you to say something that won't come through the speaker system. Once again, this is our first live meeting, so we're going to work out that tone, but there are reinforced speakers right here on the side, so anything that's coming through the meeting will come through this speaker as well. That'll be very helpful, like if you're on one end of the board and somebody else is on the other side, it'll help you hear. And then also on the side, there's a headphone jack with a volume knob. So now if anybody needs to use headphones or a hearing device, they can just plug right into the side. And then these are wireless as well. One of the advantages of going wireless is we were able to rip up all the wires that went to the old microphones. We noticed a lot of kinks, and we believe that that's what was causing a lot of the in and out. Because the microphone wires were kinked up because there were so many of them bunched up and then going out to each of the stations. So I just want to I know he's in there troubleshooting, but I just wanted to recognize Steve. He put a lot of work in finding these microphones, and basically we did a lot of comparisons, and these microphones in particular, we believe solved all the deficiencies of the old system. So we're looking forward to working with them.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions?
Sir, I couldn't hear you.
Use your.
Don't know that. Is there a shelf life on these mics?
So another good thing is that there is a battery. So oftentimes with a battery operated device, you can just replace the battery instead of the whole device. Whereas if the other microphones went bad, we would have to replace the whole microphone. There's also a spare access point, so if that access point goes bad, then we won't have to replace that. But we're anticipating using these microphones for many, many years to come. I don't think there's an official shelf life because out of everybody that's using these microphones, they haven't had any issues yet. These are also the same exact microphones that are used at the United Nations. So they have pretty good references.
What's the company name?
Sure.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Madam Chair, I have a speaker
sir.
thing. I did notice, though, that with the feedback, it seems like whenever there's 2 or more lights on, that's when we get the feedback. So if all, as soon as we're done speaking, hit the light off, I think it will cut down on the feedback.
I think you're right. Thank you. So we are on adoption of agenda. Do I have a motion? Oh, I'm sorry. Are you? Okay. Ms. Benson.
Under new business, I'd like to add budget hearings, please.
We'll make that 13A. Does anyone else have anything to add? I have a couple of things to add. We'll call it 13B. The first one is a reminder of the ethics class. And then 13C will be social media limitation. Anyone have anything else? If not, can I get a motion? Moved by Mr. Stevens and second by Ms. Benson. Please vote. And it passes 5-0. We move now to public hearings, and we have none. We move to open forum, and I have no pink slips. We move now to presentations, and I believe we have a special recognition award to Mr. David Gaines for his service to the CAC. Mr. Woody. Saw him here a minute ago. I thought. No, he's not here? Okay, I thought I saw him. All right, well, it was an honor to have him here on the CAC. It's one thing, like I said at the previous meeting, to serve when you're elected, but when you're not a paid official, it's another to drive all the way and work for the CAC. So I'm sure staff will make sure he gets that recognition plaque, and we all appreciate him. We move now to we have a second presentation of the Recycle Star, and would you like to pick that for me? So number 3 is Mr. Andrew Woost, and he will get a sign in his yard and all kind of recognition for being a really good recycler. We have others on the list that were up for the Recycle Star: Piper Rosas, Daniel Bontrager, Zachary Miller, Emily Youngman, Jamil Shabazz, Angelica Godness, David Manassa, and Douglas Schultz, and we really appreciate everyone doing a great job on recycle.
Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm so glad you get to pronounce those names now.
That's funny. Well, I work in the title business, so I get some names that come across my desk every day that are difficult to say, so I'll try to do my best to say them properly. We move now to the approval of the minutes for the organizational board meeting first on November the 19th. Or we'll just take them both at the same time unless someone has any questions. The other is the regular board meeting of November 19th, 2024. So do I have a motion? Moved by Mr. Stevens, second by Mr. Perkins. Please vote. And it passes 5-0. We move now to the report of the ECUA Citizens Advisory Committee on December the 3rd, 2024. Mr. Williams, our CAC chairman, you are on.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a report for the ECUA Citizen Advisory Committee for Tuesday, December the 3rd, 2024, 3 p.m. Committee members present. This is myself at 3:32, Dale Perkins, Lois Benson, Vicki Campbell, Kevin Stevens, Dean Kirshner, David Morzin, and Lois Ritz. Following members were absent: Chuck Kimball and Lois Brown and Amanda Cremati, who were both here earlier today. Item E, presentation, Citizens Advisory Committee orientation presentations. Mr. Woody, Executive Director, Mr. Jerry Piscopo, Deputy Executive Director of Maintenance and Construction, Mr. Don Palmer, Deputy Executive Director of Engineering and Environmental Services, Mr. Tom Fitzpatrick, Deputy Executive Director of Shared Services, and Mr. Justin Smith, Director of Finance. Each delivered comprehensive presentations to the CAC outlining the functions of their respective departments. Item G1, adoption of General Resolution number GR 24-133, a general resolution authorizing the acceptance of bid and awarding of a contract, authorizing the executive director to execute a contract with Pensacola Concrete Constructions, Inc. for $5,749,597.55 for construction of sanitary, sewer, and replacement of impacted water mains, CIP number CS0017, authorizes the transfer and use of funds. Recommendation. Motion made by Ms. Campbell, seconded by Ms. Benson, that the board adopt General Resolution GR 24-133, and the committee voted it passed by a vote of 8-0. Item G2, adoption of General Resolution number GR 24-134, a general resolution authorizing a portion of the retained easement of the vacated Donaldson Street right-of-way over 524 West Remana Street to be no longer useful, necessary, or profitable in the operation of the utility systems of the Emerald Coast Utility Authority. Approved and concurring in the finding of the Executive Director, declaring the easement to be surplus and providing an effective date. Motion made by Ms. Campbell, seconded by Ms. Benson, that the board adopt General Resolution GR 24-134, and the vote passed by a vote of 8-0. This concludes the report. Make a motion that this we motion that it be.
Yeah, you probably want to move items 2 and 3.
Thank you. That's what we want to do. We want to move items number GR1 and GR2.
2 and 3. 1 was just the presentations.
Okay, move items 2 and 3.
Thank you.
Just 1 second, I'm sorry.
No,
It froze
there you go.
up. 1 minute.
And it's seconded by Mr. Perkins. Any conversation? If not, please vote. And it passes 5-0. Does that conclude your report?
Madam Chair, that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. I did want to make one brief comment. It was very nice of staff to do all the presentations. It's not only nice for the new CAC members, but it was really nice to have that good review for the rest of us, too. So, thank you. We move now to the consent agenda. Mr. Woody, would you like to go over item SR 24-10, special resolution?
This resolution comes as a response to a request by Board Member Dale Perkins. Please note that it is a special resolution as opposed to a general resolution, the distinction being that we use the term special resolution when we're actually making amendments to the ECUA code. Attached as a part of this resolution is Chapter 14 in its entirety, although the only portion being amended is Section 14-47, which is on page 29 of your attachments. What it proposes to do is to allow the public drinking water fountains in city and county parks to be, to have the water provided to those pieces of infrastructure by the ECUA and the ECUA to cover user fees associated with those features. It's a relatively short paragraph, so for the benefit of those who may be listening, I'm just going to go ahead and read it. Water fountains for public parks. ECUA may, in its discretion, waive impact fees, charges, and/or service charges for potable water to water fountains in public parks owned and operated for the benefit of and use by the general public by Escambia County and the City of Pensacola. Any such service shall be metered. All fees and charges that ECUA elects to waive under this provision will be paid internally by applying income derived from ECUA investments. This provision shall not be construed to apply to public school parks, parks owned by nonprofit entities such as homeowner associations or private entities who allow public access. Again, the important part there, we're using interest income from investments, not from user fees, so it doesn't affect our user base as an expense. And all infrastructure past the meter would be obviously at the cost of the county or city, but wanting to provide, will set the service line, set the meter, and pay for the usage fees associated with the water that's consumed from those meters.
Move to item B, adoption of General Resolution GR 24-135, a general resolution authorizing a final budget amendment for fiscal year 2024. Will this be you or Mr. Smith? Mr. Smith?
Well, he's coming to the podium. This is a routine procedure that we do on an annual basis. It's final budget amendment for the end of fiscal year 2024.
Good afternoon. As Mr. Woody stated, this is a routine budget amendment that we do at the end of the fiscal year. And on Exhibit A of the resolution found on page 65, it has a summary for each one of the systems, one column for water and wastewater, one for sanitation, and one for the MRF. All three enterprises had revenues that exceeded the budget. So that's always good news. On the water and wastewater side, we were a little over 3%. I think we're 3.4% higher on wastewater and 5.7% higher than budget. On water, that's mainly increased usage. We did have some customer growth. We had about a 1.2, 1.3% increase in customers on both of those enterprises. But we had a pretty dry summer, so the consumption, the average consumption was a good bit higher than what we've had in the past. On the sanitation side, revenues were 1.2% higher than budget, and that was mainly due to growth in the customer base. On the MRF, as promised last week, I would let you know this week whether Mr. Stevens, whether the MRF was in the black or not. And for fiscal year 24, the MRF did end up in the black, and that was, we had $825,000 revenue in excess of the budget. We had kind of a conservative budget for 2024 because we did increase the tipping fees, didn't know what kind of effect that would have on our customers. We knew that we would lose some customers with the new MRF opening, but that didn't happen until late in the year whenever the Okaloosa County MRF opened. So we did have $825,000 of additional revenue. Also, we had a good market in the commodities. When you look at the average price of the materials that we've sold there, they were higher during fiscal year 2024 than what they have been since 2020, right about the time of all the COVID shutdowns. The recyclables market hit a high, and then the bottom fell out soon after that. 21, 22, hit bottom, and they've been increasing a little bit every quarter. So that's what accounted for the additional revenue there. And then on the expense side, we pretty much met the budget on the sanitation and MRF enterprises. For the MRF, we had $600,000 excess revenues over expenses is carrying forward to the 2025 budget. And we were anticipating that during the budget process for 2025. If you recall, the 2025 budget included $591,000 of carry forward from the fiscal year 2024 operations. So we did meet that target, a little better than that target. And then on the water and wastewater system and sanitation system, we also had some carry forwards there to increase our unrestricted fund balance. Anyone have any questions?
Yes, Mr. Stevens.
So this is good news.
It's good news.
Yeah, and so I understand obviously the devil's in the details when it comes to the numbers, but I mean regardless that's a surplus now, and I'm assuming that's going to help us going forward into 2025 because of some of the customers that we're losing. So maybe that'll help mitigate some of that.
Yeah, that gives us a little extra cushion coming into 2025. I think Mr. Woody mentioned last week there's an RFP out right now that we are responding to for the city of Pensacola, so that could potentially bring in
Offset some of the Okaloosa Walton
bring them
customer
back as
base we're losing.
Right. And it's losing some customers isn't always a bad thing. You can kind of slow down, cut schedules down, have more time for preventative maintenance and run a little cleaner
Less
operation.
contamination.
So,
Yeah. Okay. Good. That's all I had.
Thank you, Mr. Smith. I have no more questions for you, Mr. Smith. Thank you very much. And I do have a question back upon or comment from Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, talking with Mr. Pugh, so the staff now has the authority to give the city or the county okay to do it. I did notice that we talked about it shall be metered. Do the fountains currently have meters on them? I mean, I think some of them do. I didn't anticipate us doing a big capital project, but if they don't have meters, why not just leave the straight line? Are we worried about them using it for irrigation or something?
Two reasons. Number one, we need to be sure that the expenses associated with providing that water are paid using our investment income, not ECUA user revenue. So we need to track that and know what it is so that we can pay it from that fund source as opposed to our general revenues. That's one. Number two, if it's not metered, then we would have no way to really know if we have a leakage problem that needs to be addressed and a customer notified as a result, or abuse if the line is used for something other than its intended purpose.
Okay, that makes sense. I think they have meters on them. I've been to a couple, and it looks like there were already meters there.
They would have to on their
Yes,
fountains.
I wouldn't anticipate a big expenditure or anything. Okay, it sounds good. Thank you so much to the staff and for the attorney for accommodating this. I know it was a little unorthodox and stuff, but I know that, the people will really appreciate it, especially in the hot summer days, and I'm sure it probably helped relations with the other branches of local government. So thank you very much. Thank the ward for support as well.
Thank you. I do not have any other questions. Would anyone like to hold one of these items?
Let me just ask a question, Madam Chair.
Yes, sir.
On the special resolution, do we anticipate an impact as far as number of services or fountains in the city and the county that will be utilizing this benefit?
Well, this is set up for drinking fountains. Now, how often or how they respond, that's hard to know. My intentions are to draft a letter, and to the extent they'll even allow me on the agenda, I would like an opportunity to publicly address it at one of their meetings to let them know. Beyond that, it'll be a matter of what level of investment they want to make to provide these additional drinking fountains.
Talking about at a city council and a county commissioner meeting?
If they would allow me.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. And yeah, I think that would be a great idea. Do we have a motion to move the consent agenda? Moved by Mr. Stevens, second by Mr. Williams. Please vote.
Madam Chair?
Yes, ma'am.
I think it would be very nice if Mr. Perkins would have the opportunity to speak to the commission and to the city council on those. It's always nice for people to see an initiative made by a board member as opposed to a staff initiative, and particularly for board members to address other elected members. So I'd hope you would take that opportunity to do that, Mr. Perkins.
Thank you, Ms. Benson. I think that's a marvelous idea.
Well, it's certainly not necessary, and I've learned there's no limit to what you can do if you don't care who gets the credit. So I'm perfectly fine with Mr. Woody doing it, but if he'd like me to be there, I'll be glad to tag along.
Thank you, Mr. Perkins. And it passed 5-0. We move now to the budget report. Mr. Smith.
Similar to last month, there's really not a lot to report on the budget report. We're only 2 months into the new fiscal year, so that's 17% of the fiscal year right now. Everything is tracking on budget, but you know it's still early in the year. But we don't have any major surprises or anything at this point.
And I do not have any speakers, so thank you. Mr. Stevens. Okay.
That's actually the name of the division. That's one of our the divisions under finance in my department. This is just our expenditure budget, and the reason that we're at 52% there, we have a large can't read it here, $863,000 in encumbrances. That is annual purchase order. Most of that is with InfoSend that the board approved a couple of months ago. That is the purchase order that for the company to provide all the processing, printing, mailing, emailing of our bills, and the postage, you know. Correct. Yeah, they're actual expenditures. And the second column over is 258,000, and there's 863 tied up in an annual purchase order for the year. So that's why the percentage is higher, because it's including that purchase order amount that covers the entire year.
We move now to the executive director's report. Mr. Woody.
Really only a few items. We've had some discussions about the engineering manual. I want to give Mr. Stevens in particular, who asked about it on occasion, an update. Director of Engineering Stacy Hayden reports that it will be posted on our website for public comment before the end of this calendar year, so it's before December. The details of the comment period I'll let Stacy address. He's out of town this week, but I'll provide some follow-up information on those details in the next board report. I was going to touch on ethics training, but I think Chairman Campbell was going to touch on that in unfinished business. Besides that, I just want to wish everybody an enjoyable Christmas and holiday break with your family.
Thank you, sir. We move now to the attorney's report. Mr. Pugh.
Nothing to add from the attorneys.
Thank you. We move now to unfinished business, and we'll start with Ms. Benson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I already left my thing on, so.
Okay.
I didn't take the lesson very well. This is the time that we all think about those gifts that we want to give and receive, and I mentioned to my husband that I love a cup of coffee about 4 in the afternoon, but I don't want to make a whole pot. And so a single cup coffee maker was on my list, and he said, well, and we're all radical environmentalists now, thanks to Megan. He said, well, don't get a Keurig because that is an environmental waste, and those things are filling our landfills with all of these plastics and so forth. And I wasn't thinking of a Keurig anyway, but I started thinking about all of these ways that we are wasteful. And as probably one of the premier environmental organizations in our community, ECUA needs to take a lead in stewardship, and not just in the kind of stewardships that we do for the budget and for our landfill and all of that, but in the way we run our offices and our staff. And I thought, we've started the process, which I think is wonderful, in our budget of setting goals that are measurable goals each year. And staff does a great job, and I think it's been an improvement. But I would like for us to add to this budget report an item of reducing waste. And I'd like for every department to look at their practices in their office and see if there are ways that they can reduce, reuse, or recycle in even small ways that are measurable, and also in the way they conduct business, for example, in paperless billing, which we're already looking at. But I think it would be a good exercise, so I would move that we add to our budget deliberations a line item for each department on reducing waste within their department. And that's.
Thank you. Do I have a second? And that is second by Mr. Stevens. And let me see if I have comments here before we vote. I do not have any speakers, but I would like to say you are speaking my language. I've been paperless, y'all know that, since 1999 in my office. And I have these underwriters, Kevin knows who I'm talking about, they come around to your office every year and they give us these big old paper calendars to put on your desk. And so I have to draw out property all the time, so I have gotten to where now I flip those over and use them to draw out property. I do it the old-fashioned way, Philip, drawing out property with a scale and a protractor, but I don't have that fancy CAD system like everybody else. But I think it's a great idea, Lois, because we just take for granted a lot of things. We have one printer in our office, and we probably use one, maybe not even one full box of paper per year. And if we print something and then we're not going to use it, we just flip it over and use it for scratch paper instead of buying scratch paper pads, which are expensive. So anyway, just things that you don't think about. So I think it's a grand idea. And I really appreciate you thinking about reducing waste, because you're right. We are the environmentalists in this town, so I think it's a grand idea.
I'd like to say I'm very frugal. Off of everything, folders get turned inside out, flipped over, and the other side. Staff knows I'm like, that's 25 cents. I mean, so for environmental too, but also for budgetary.
Yeah.
Which is a win-win.
Exactly. Well, thank you, Ms. Benson, for taking the lead on that, and please vote. Everybody vote? It's up there, and it passes 5-0. Doesn't show up on my screen.
May I make one other comment?
Yes, ma'am.
I want to apologize in advance to staff, because there's nothing worse than elected bodies adding to the work that staff has to do. And I certainly don't want to add anything that is meaningless. And as we contemplate this ethics training that's going to take each of us a day, that the legislature imposed upon us, that probably does not make any of us any more ethical, and I don't think they imposed it upon themselves. I'm very conscious of grandstanding by board members and making more work for other people, so I hope this will be a good exercise, not an empty one. Thank you.
Thank you. With that, we move to item B, which was mine, and that was just a reminder that we have 4 hours of ethics, and I don't believe we've all done it, so let's get to it, because we don't want to get fined, and we don't get fined personally, the ECUA gets fined, so I will tell you I did it, and it does take the entire 4 hours, so, but...
I'm almost done with mine right now.
But it's really, I like the sunshine part. It was refreshing. Mr. Woody?
Just one comment. The fees associated with that, I forget what the exact amount is, $80, $90?
$79.95.
There you go. That is a fee that will be covered by ECUA, so submit those invoices, and that will be rebated to you.
Thank you, sir. And Mr. Perkins?
So when we first got notification of the new financial report and an ethics course requirement, I did it online. Is there a way to confirm that or anything? I mean, I think I probably have some sort of receipt or something at the house, but are you guys able to track that? And
you had sent some information to me. I have it. I have a record of yours.
Okay. Is that an annual thing or is it a one-time thing, the ethics portion?
My understanding is that it's annual. Is that correct, Don?
Every year.
4 hours a year.
Okay, so I did it last year. When will I be required to do it again? I mean, when it first came out, I did it. I did it right away.
Yeah, 2025.
I believe it's calendar year, so it'd be after January 1, you can tackle it again if you wish.
Well,
Yes, if you've taken it since January.
okay. And is there, now, and as well as the financial reporting, is there a way that the staff or the attorney or somebody could keep track with that and remind us like 90 days or 60 days in advance in case we haven't got it done, just so we're sure we're in compliance? I mean, you get so many required things. I'm trying to keep up with them all. I did my financial report, but keeping up with the deadlines and stuff.
Yeah, we used to get a reminder.
We used to get a reminder. The Supervisor of Elections Office used to send us a reminder on the financial every year. We did that, and the staff here did as well. But I wouldn't want to accidentally be out of compliance with anything. I think I'm good on all of it, but I want to make sure I am.
Thank you, sir. The second item, I don't want to vote on anything today. I just wanted to get it in front of your minds that the county, from what I heard, came up with a new social media limitation on their board members. And so that's something that, we might want to take a look at, see what they did, and see if it fits us. I don't think we have any problems with our board members, but it might be something that we want to think about for the future. So you might just think about it. Well, maybe Bruce can get us a copy of what they did and email it to us. And let's see, I have Mr. Perkins.
Well, I do very little, if any, ECUA-related stuff on social media just because I'm hyper-vigilant about the sunshine thing. So I will see people put ridiculous stuff out there about the water. I saw a law firm advertisement recently, sponsored, a paid thing. The water is poison, trying to drum up business. And my natural inclination is to, refute that and point them to accurate information and tell them, just because you read it on the internet don't mean it's true. And but I don't do any of that just because of sunshine stuff. So I think it's good, not to, but I'd feel pretty awkward limiting, another elected official or any elected officials on on what they can and can't say in public, so I don't know that we need a policy, but I do know that we need to be very careful. And I personally, I don't do any of it just because, they say, somebody could say, that might be a way of trying to communicate with another board member or something like that, put it out in public. So I keep my social media strictly personal, but we'll see what the county does. I mean, I'm open. I'm not closed-minded to anything. I'm open to looking at it, but I'm pretty skeptical of anything that would, keep another elected official from practicing freedom of speech.
Yeah, I like to go, if people ask me to come on to a webinar with them or something, and talk about ECUA, I don't want my hands to be tied about that, but we'll look and see what they did and see if we want to even address it. Thank you. Mr. Woody, did you want to say anything? Okay, thank you. We move now to new business. Do we have any new business? See none and no speakers. And we move to board communication. Do we have any board communication? Mr. Stevens.
I just wanted to wish my fellow board members and ECUA staff a very Merry Christmas. And hopefully you all take a couple days for some badly needed, well-deserved time off and celebration. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Williams, did you?
Yes, Madam Chair. I echo those comments that Mrs. Stevens made, and also send them a little further out to District 3 and to the county. Wishing all a Merry Christmas. And if I could sing, I would, but otherwise, Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.
Thank you, sir. I echo that. Happy holidays to the board and the staff and all of my constituents and all of the Escambia County. Thank you very much. We move now to our second open forum. I do not have any pink slips, so we are taking a vote. Do I have someone that'd like to move adjournment? Hey, I did pretty good that time. Perkins, and second by Mr. Stevens. Please vote. Hey. And it passes 5-0. Yep, we got both ends of the spectrum, you and I.